Hello again, my name is Gabe Zollner. One of my viewers asked a question in regard to a video that I posted, which was MVI 1840. Another viewer agrees that put nose. And he was asking specifically about the latter part of that video where I talked about what I believe happened to JFK Jr. And here's what he asked. So, if someone disabled the autopilot pitch and yaw correction or any other instruments, would that potentially cause the pilot to make a mistake as well? Flying at night is no joke. Even as a passenger, it can be disorienting. I personally would not want to pilot a plane at night because you have to rely on instruments completely, unless for some reason there's a bright moon and you can still see something to go off of. I like a nice sun and clear horizon any day over pitch black. If he had only let go, so was the plane capable of autopilot as well? Could he enter a heading and let it fly itself? I understand being cool and showing off piloting skills, but some things are not worth the risk. Well, let me try to answer that as best as I can. Autopilots on small airplanes require input from the pilot. You can set up the autopilot to fly a certain heading or a certain beacon. Airplanes used to use what's called VORs, which stands for Very High Frequency Omnidirectional Bearing Indicator. They don't use that as often now. Most airplanes that are equipped have GPS devices. But again, prior to GPS devices, they used to fly the VOR headings. So he could have set it up to fly directly to, assuming there was a VOR where he was going, which was to Martha's Vineyard. Or he could have flown off of another VOR by setting up a bearing. Now, what has to happen is the pilot has to take the airplane up to the desired altitude and then set the airplane up for flight. He can't have it going off on an angle. It's got to be a straight and level flight. And then he simply hits a button, which would again lock all those controls into that configuration. Now, the airplane cannot fly by itself unless the pilot once again sets up the configuration. In the case with JFK Jr., what I believe happened is this viewer stated, flying at night is somewhat difficult, especially if you lose the horizon. And as I said in the video that I posted, when you fly out over the ocean at night, there is no horizon. The ocean melts into the horizon, or the horizon melts into the ocean. You cannot differentiate. And if a pilot is not trained on instrument flight rules, then his brain starts giving him signals that aren't real. And that's what I believe happened to JFK Jr. His body experienced different sensations that he wasn't accustomed to, and he either didn't know how to read the instruments correctly, or he simply lost total control of the aircraft. When you're flying at night and you're flying instruments, you can't just look at one instrument. You have to use your eyes to scan all your instruments. And the reason that is that you could have a defective instrument. If all you were, more or less betting your life on was the attitude indicator, or the speed indicator, or the turn back coordinator, you'd be making a mistake. That's why the eyes have to scan. You're looking at multiple instruments to make certain that the aircraft is in a configuration and the attitude that you want it to be in. He didn't do that properly. And again, if he would have let go as soon as he lost control, the airplane probably would have straightened itself out. But what he probably did was he fought the aircraft because his body's giving him sensations that are different than what they should have been giving him. And that's why the airplane, I believe, broke apart, because it exceeded its design speed limits based on spiraling down. As an airplane spirals down, each rotation becomes a little tighter, and then you reach a point where it's like a drill bit. In either case, that's what I believe happened. if there's other pilots that want to pipe in with their comments, I'm sure the viewer would appreciate that. Have a great day.